In the 21st century, a global elite continues to use ancient knowledge to manipulate mass behavior. The scariest part? You participate in this system every day without even realizing it. Have you ever stopped to think about why some images and symbols seem to have an almost hypnotic power over our minds? Why do major corporations spend millions just to create seemingly simple logos? The truth is that these symbols are not random. They are part of a secret language carefully designed to influence and control. Much of this language traces back to secret societies like the Illuminati, which over centuries have mastered the use of symbols to convey power and control. There's an ancient science behind these images, a science known by few but influencing everyone's life. Symbols have played a crucial role in human communication since ancient times, but in modern life, they have gained even greater sophistication. Used by corporations, governments, and religions, these symbols influence behavior and emotions subtly, often without the public noticing. Companies create logos with shapes that evoke progress and victory, targeting the subconscious and shaping our consumer decisions. Governments use flags and monumental architecture to reinforce their power and national unity, creating a sense of trust and reverence. In religions, symbols like the crucifix or the Star of David connect the faithful to the sacred, reinforcing cultural and spiritual identities. Throughout history, leaders have used symbols to legitimize their authority, such as the Egyptian pharaohs with the uraeus, a sacred cobra representing divine protection. This same principle applies today, with governments and institutions shaping our perception of power through symbols. With the advancement of digital media, we are constantly exposed to icons and logos that influence our choices and beliefs before we can consciously question them. In this way, symbols, seemingly harmless, have a profound impact on our daily lives, shaping everything from our purchases to our ideological loyalties. Recognizing this power is the first step to reclaiming control over our decisions. Symbols possess deep emotional power, activating the brain's limbic system, responsible for emotional reactions before the conscious mind processes their meaning. Colors like blue, associated with calm and security, and red, linked to urgency and danger, are strategically used to influence emotions. Institutions and companies use symbols to build trust and provoke quick emotional responses, shaping our behavior almost instantly. This is nothing new. Ancient civilizations already employed colors and shapes in symbols to evoke collective feelings. In Japan, for example, the red circle on the national flag symbolizes the sun and stirs feelings of pride and vitality. Religious symbols also have a significant emotional impact. The Christian cross, the Star of David, and the Islamic crescent connect believers with feelings of faith, sacrifice, and spiritual identity. Scientific studies show that certain symbols can modulate neurotransmitters like dopamine and serotonin, provoking sensations of well-being and comfort. Additionally, simple geometric shapes, such as circles and triangles, influence how we perceive power and security, being widely used in religious and governmental buildings to convey authority. National flags are a classic example of how symbols combine form and color to evoke pride and unity, especially in times of crisis. Governments and spiritual leaders have always used symbols to maintain emotional control over populations, and in the modern age, they remain a powerful tool for shaping emotions and decisions without us being fully aware of it. Throughout history, elites and power groups have always used symbols as tools for control and manipulation. These symbols carry a hidden language understood only by those who master the esoteric knowledge behind them. A striking example of this practice can be seen in the use of symbols associated with what many believe to be the secret elite or initiatory societies, like the Illuminati. These groups are said to have developed a sophisticated form of social control, using carefully designed symbols to manipulate public perception, especially on a subconscious level. The unfinished pyramid and the all-seeing eye, widely present in certain societies' iconography, are often associated with surveillance and absolute power. The pyramid, with its wide base and truncated apex, suggests a hierarchical structure of power, where most of the population occupies the base, unaware of the forces operating at the top. This symbol, found in currency and official documents, is interpreted as a representation of mass control by a minority that holds true knowledge. The incomplete pyramid also suggests that this system of control is still under construction, evolving and adapting over time. The all-seeing eye is another crucial symbol associated with the idea of constant surveillance. It is believed that its presence in public contexts has a profound psychological effect, activating mechanisms in the brain that cause people to behave more submissively and conformingly. This effect is widely supported by social neuroscience studies, which show that repeated exposure to authority symbols, such as eyes or representations of power, can alter the behavioral patterns of large populations, even if subconsciously. This influence doesn't occur through direct coercion, but through subtle manipulation that conditions the mind to accept authority without question. The Illuminati, a secret society often linked to conspiracy theories, is frequently credited with using these and other symbols as part of a larger system of social control. Although the real existence of this society as a global power force is questioned, there is no doubt that the symbols associated with these theories carry undeniable psychological power. They invoke feelings of reverence and submission in many people precisely because they operate at the deepest levels of the human mind. Strategically positioned in public spaces, official documents, and even works of art and architecture, these symbols reinforce the idea of an invisible power structure operating behind the scenes of society. Historically, initiatory societies used symbols as a form of communication between their members, transmitting knowledge and secrets that were not available to the general public. These societies, often formed by political, economic, or religious elites, believed that true wisdom and power were reserved for a chosen few. The pyramid symbol precisely reflects this idea: a small elite at the top, holding hidden knowledge, controlling the masses at the base. This hierarchical power model, represented through symbols, perpetuates the notion that only a minority has access to a true understanding of reality. The repetition of these symbols in everyday environments, such as money, monuments, or government buildings, has a cumulative effect on public perception. Even though most people are unaware of the hidden meaning behind these symbols, constant exposure to them generates a familiarity that conditions behaviors and attitudes. The masses, often unconscious of this process, end up internalizing the underlying messages without questioning them. The pyramid and the eye, for example, are symbols that go unnoticed in daily life, but their continuous presence in financial and political environments reinforces an idea of surveillance and authority that shapes how people interact with these institutions. Another fascinating aspect of this symbolic control is how it transcends cultures and eras. The use of power symbols for social manipulation is not exclusive to the modern world. In ancient Egypt, for instance, pharaohs used symbols of divine power in their crowns and palaces to reinforce their authority over the people. The Eye of Horus, a symbolic precursor to the all-seeing eye, had a similar meaning, representing divine surveillance and absolute power. These symbols were used to ensure that the population remained loyal and submissive to the established order. Today, the use of these symbols has been adapted to new contexts, such as media and digital communication. Logos, seals, and even architectural patterns are carefully designed to convey messages of power, control, and submission. While they are often seen as mere decorative elements, the truth is that these symbols continue to exert a silent and penetrating influence on the collective mind. The power of these symbols lies in their ability to operate invisibly, conditioning behaviors and perceptions without the need for direct coercion. Finally, it's important to understand that the true power of symbols doesn't lie only in their explicit meaning, but in how they are embedded in culture and society. Symbolic control is not a recent phenomenon, but a mechanism of influence that has evolved over centuries. Those who understand the power of symbols and how they affect the collective unconscious can use them to shape behavior deeply and enduringly. The great mystery behind this manipulation lies in the fact that, even with technological and scientific advancements, human nature remains susceptible to the influence of ancient and powerful symbols. The use of symbols by public figures goes far beyond aesthetics. It is a strategic tool for controlling and influencing the masses. Simple gestures, such as covering one eye or forming a pyramid with the hands, carry hidden meanings linked to affiliations with groups or ideologies. These gestures, when repeated at high-visibility events, reinforce the figure's position of power and create a subconscious identification with the values they represent. This practice dates back to ancient times when leaders used crowns and scepters to legitimize their authority. In modern times, these symbols have evolved, and the media amplifies their impact. Public figures meticulously use symbolic gestures, colors, and clothing to transmit powerful messages. The use of specific colors, like blue for trust or red for passion, reinforces their public image of power and authority. From a neuroscientific perspective, symbolic gestures activate mirror neurons, creating an emotional connection between the public and the figure. This strengthens hierarchies and influences behavior without the viewer's awareness. In addition to gestures, public events are choreographed with visual and auditory elements to maximize symbolic impact, connecting deeply with cultural and historical associations. Many times, these gestures have a ritualistic nature, perpetuating initiation and hierarchy traditions. While unnoticed by the general public, they are recognized by those familiar with the symbolic code. The use of these symbols is a sophisticated form of manipulation, influencing behavior and reinforcing power structures, operating effectively on the collective unconscious and shaping the masses' perceptions and emotions. Throughout history, secret societies have played an intriguing role in social control and the preservation of power. These organizations, composed of influential elites, use rituals and symbols as tools to manipulate perceptions and ensure the loyalty of their members. Far from being mere ceremonial practices, these rituals are structured to deeply impact the minds of participants, influencing their behavior and beliefs in a lasting way. These societies frequently use symbolic animals, such as the owl, which represents not only wisdom but also vigilance. In rituals, these symbols evoke feelings of protection and authority, while in the subconscious, they trigger submissive responses. Neurobiological science points out that images of nocturnal predators, like the owl, automatically evoke fear and reverence in the human brain. Through this strategy, secret societies can maintain their members within a rigid hierarchical structure, where power is concentrated and controlled by the elite. The rituals performed in these organizations are carefully planned to amplify the emotional and psychological power of symbols. They involve specific gestures, words of power, and even the choice of strategic locations to maximize their effect. In many cases, rituals are conducted in historically or spiritually significant places, where natural energies are believed to amplify the emotional impact on participants. Locations like forests, caves, or mountains carry, in various cultures, the weight of a connection to the sacred, and these societies exploit this to create a more powerful and lasting effect. Additionally, these rituals not only reinforce the internal hierarchy of organizations, but also have an effect on the social collective. The repetition of specific symbols and gestures within a ritual context creates what some researchers call a morphogenetic field, a concept suggesting that repeated patterns of behavior generate influences that spread beyond the direct participants. This idea, supported by some theories in quantum physics, suggests that rituals performed by these organizations can shape the behavior of entire groups of people, even those not directly involved. The power of these practices lies in their ability to subtly but effectively influence the collective mind. These rituals are not just traditions maintained by secret societies for their members. They serve a greater purpose in reconfiguring the participants' perception of reality. Every symbol and gesture is carefully chosen to instill new mental associations, programming the participants to see the world from a new perspective. These symbols are often so powerful that they deeply alter how initiates understand their role in society and the universe. This programming process occurs over several stages as members ascend the organization's hierarchy. Only those who demonstrate a complete understanding of the symbolic and ritualistic system advance to higher levels of knowledge and power. In many of these rituals, repeated exposure to specific symbols during altered states of consciousness, induced by ritualistic practices, creates emotional associations that remain ingrained in the participant's psyche for life. For example, performing certain rituals under the moonlight or in natural spaces that evoke a connection to the universe leads participants to believe they are in tune with higher forces. This experience transforms them, creating an unshakable loyalty to the organization and its ideals. It is no coincidence that these organizations choose geographically significant locations for their ceremonies. Since ancient times, these practices have always sought to maximize the energy of the place. In ancient Greece, for instance, certain rituals were performed in caves or hidden temples, places seen as portals to the divine. Over the centuries, this practice has adapted to new eras, but the essence remains. The ritual's location is a fundamental part of amplifying its impact. In contemporary times, these societies may hold their rituals in seemingly ordinary buildings, but loaded with symbolism, or even in spaces with deep historical and cultural significance, thus creating continuity between the past and the present. Another factor that sustains these organizations' power is how their symbols are introduced into culture subliminally. Symbols from these secret societies appear not only in private rituals, but also in many aspects of public space, from building architecture to popular media. These symbols, when repeatedly presented, become part of the everyday landscape, and even though most people do not understand their true meaning, they subtly affect the collective unconscious. This allows these societies to maintain their symbolic control over the general public, using a language that few can decipher, but that influences many, albeit unconsciously. The rituals and symbols of these organizations are not limited to their inner circles. They silently influence the masses. The power of these symbols lies in their ability to operate at the deepest levels of the human mind, generating associations that shape perception, behavior, and, often, even individuals' beliefs. Over the centuries, this strategy has proven to be an effective tool of control and influence, both within secret societies and in the external world. The symbols found on currency and other monetary instruments are not mere decorative visuals or artistic details. Since ancient times, money has always been a means of social control and a reflection of the dominant power structures. Far beyond its economic value, it carries a sophisticated symbolic language that, over time, has shaped the collective perception of authority, order, and hierarchy. A detailed analysis of the symbolic elements embedded in money reveals a well-thought-out system of social engineering designed to reinforce ideas of power and submission. A classic example of this symbolic control is the use of the unfinished pyramid, often seen on coins or bills. This pyramid is a symbol of hierarchy and authority, with a broad base representing the masses and an incomplete top suggesting a power still under construction. The truncated top is often interpreted as a sign that there is something more, something unseen by the majority, that continues to develop and control. This symbol suggests that the power structure governing the world is constantly evolving, adapting to new social and technological realities, but remaining invisible to those at the base of the pyramid. Another symbolic element that appears on currency is the all-seeing eye, positioned atop the pyramid or isolated in other parts of the bill. This eye, often surrounded by rays of light, represents constant surveillance, the idea that power systems are always watching and monitoring. This symbol has deep roots in esotericism, linked to the idea that knowledge and control are concentrated in an elite that holds true power. The presence of this symbol in something as commonplace as money subtly reinforces the notion that control is inherent to modern life, perpetuated on levels invisible and incomprehensible to most people. The repeated use of specific numbers on coins and bills also plays a significant role in this symbolic system. For instance, the number 13 appears frequently, whether in the number of stars, steps, or branches in certain symbols. In many esoteric traditions, 13 is associated with transformation, change, and even rebellion. However, its use in contexts like money suggests control over these processes, transforming the idea of revolution into something contained and regulated by the same forces that control the social order. Additionally, certain numbers are chosen due to their resonance with altered states of consciousness. Neuroscience research suggests that certain numerical patterns, when viewed repeatedly, can induce suggestibility, making the public more receptive to subliminal messages. Another interesting point about the symbols present in money is the use of Latin phrases, such as Novus Ordo Seclorum, which translates to New Order of the Ages. This type of inscription is not just an aesthetic statement, but a message loaded with meaning. The idea of a new order indicates that society is transitioning to a new model of control, where the old form of governance will be replaced by something more centralized and global. This phrase, combined with other symbols of power, creates a silent narrative that the future is being shaped by invisible forces, often beyond the comprehension of the masses. The presence of these symbols on money is part of a broader strategy of social programming. Money is something everyone interacts with daily, and constant exposure to these symbols creates subconscious familiarity. The human brain processes images much faster than text, reacting to these symbols before having the chance to question them rationally. This means that whenever someone conducts a financial transaction, they are unconsciously absorbing these symbolic messages of power and control. This process creates a deep conditioning in which the acceptance of hierarchies and structures of authority becomes automatic and seemingly natural. Beyond the visual elements, money also plays a crucial role in maintaining the status quo through its very function as a medium of exchange. It not only measures the value of goods and services, but also reinforces the idea that people depend on a centralized structure for survival. The symbolism printed on bills serves as a constant reminder of who truly controls this structure. Even digital currencies and cryptocurrencies, which many see as an alternative to the traditional financial system, carry symbolic aspects in their creation, whether through their logos, concepts, or numbers, which evoke this connection to centralized power. It is fascinating how these monetary symbols transcend cultures. Various nations around the world use similar elements in their currencies, reinforcing the idea that there is a universal symbolic language present in global financial systems. Symbols like the pyramid, the eye, or specific number combinations appear in different forms, adapted to each culture, but always transmitting the same message of surveillance, hierarchy, and control. This suggests a symbolic coordination that goes beyond national borders, indicating that these power structures operate on a global level, using money as a vehicle for their symbolic programming. These symbolic elements, combined with the daily use of money, create a powerful connection between control systems and the population. The symbolic programming of money is an effective tool of influence because it reaches people on a basic and emotional level, while at the same time appearing neutral and routine. However, its constant repetition reinforces the idea that people are immersed in a control system that shapes their perception of reality without them realizing it. By recognizing these symbols, we can begin to question their presence and true meaning, developing greater awareness of how these systems operate and influence daily life. As we unravel the layers of this intricate system of symbols and power, one fundamental truth emerges. Social control does not operate through brute force, but through the subtle manipulation of collective perception. The next time you look at a dollar bill, a corporate logo, or observe the gestures of a public figure, you'll see beyond the surface. You'll see the gears of an ancient system of influence in full operation. This understanding should not incite fear, but awaken consciousness. The first step to freeing oneself from any control system is recognizing its existence. By understanding how symbols influence our behavior, we develop the ability to make more conscious choices, reclaiming our power of self-determination. Modern neuroscience confirms what ancient masters always knew. Our minds have extraordinary capacities for perception and transformation. The same neural system that can be programmed for submission can also be redirected toward expanded consciousness and personal liberation. Knowledge is only the first step. The true transformation comes through conscious practice. We have developed a special neural training program that teaches specific techniques to awaken your pineal gland and strengthen your resistance to subliminal programming. To gain immediate access to these tools for mental liberation, click the link on the screen or in the comments. If this content has expanded your awareness, share by writing in the comments, "I choose to be conscious."